Hi, this is Stacy with Gooseberry Bridge Farm, and today we are going to compare our brand new extra large freeze dryer to our large freeze dryer. This video is part of Freeze Dried February, which is a collaboration of a whole bunch of awesome creators put on by the Inquisitive Farm Wife, and there's going to be a giveaway on March 6th on her channel, which will be linked in the description at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure you're there. Watch that live and win prizes. Their prizes and sponsors will be also in the description of this video. Okay, so let's get started. We just put in this table, which you can't really see in the shot right now, but I will show you what it looked like before, where we kept our large freeze dryer. If you've seen our videos before, you know our freeze dryer, our current freeze dryer, right here, is our large, is in our shop building with my dried flower studio. We are getting ready to redo this whole area back here. We have a freezer here, this old folding table, all sorts of animal medicine. We've also got that back here. This is a germination chamber for seedlings, but this is all going to be freeze dryer space moving forward. We're going to be building a custom bench that will hold both the large and the extra large and giving you a side-by-side comparison. All right, this is what we got done today. Extra large, large, other stuff gone, freezer gone, huge mess. We got our first freeze dryer, the large version back there, in early 2021. So we've been working up our food production, our gardening, and all of that because we were able to preserve more food with the freeze dryer. So we grew more food, and then this past summer we found that we were growing way more than we could freeze dry. Now there are other solutions to that other than buying a massive new freeze dryer. We had a deep freeze, and we basically filled that up with prepped food, like waiting to be freeze dried. So because you can pre-freeze your food if you have a freeze dryer, and then freeze dry it later. So we would, chop up the vegetables, prep everything, lay them out on parchment paper, and freeze them that way. We had one thing that didn't work for, and that was bananas, and we don't grow those anyway, but we do like to freeze quick sale bananas and cheap bananas, and they stick really horribly to the parchment paper. So be really careful if you are trying to freeze dry banana slices. But everything else, all of our green beans, all of our okra, our squash, potatoes, anything else we wanted to freeze dry, we prepped it, froze it, and then it took us a month after our first hard frost where our garden died to catch up, running the freeze dryer 24/7 to catch up on all of the produce that we weren't able to freeze dry as it was coming in the summer. And that was not everything. We weren't able to prep and fill the freezer with everything. We ran out of freezer space. We had to just give up at some point, and some of the food went to the chickens and the other animals and wasn't wasted, but it wasn't going into our pantry to feed our family, and it wasn't going into our long-term freeze-dried food storage because it just wasn't keeping up with us. We do have a family of 8, and in the past, Harvest Right always recommended the large. Now they have the extra large. I don't see why, if you have a large family and a large garden, you wouldn't just go with the extra large. The other thing we normally do, which we did not do in 2023, but in 2021, 2022, we were freeze drying other things like flowers from our flower farm, herbs. Most of our herbs went into the dehydrator this year because we just didn't have the freeze drying space, but freeze dried herbs are way better. We also could freeze dry treats and candy and things like that to sell, but we did not have the capacity with the one freeze dryer. Now, our original thought was that we wouldn't need this one anymore, but we were going to try out at least this season with both of them, running large batches of produce in this one and also flowers. If you haven't seen my freeze-dried flowers videos, I have one about sunflowers and one that's primarily zinnias. Freeze-dried zinnias are amazing. Here, I'm actually going to show you some of these freeze-dried flowers. I don't know if this is focusing. Pretty cool. And then that's a freeze-dried zinnia. Okay, I can't even hold these up. I'm going to bring the camera over here. I also have my freeze-dried sunflowers out to show you. So I just got one box. This is one. This is another one. These are actually some pretty sad looking freeze-dried sunflowers because they were not dried at the right stage. But they're still cool. I keep them in these boxes with layers. And I keep all the zinnias sorted by color in these boxes. They can just be stacked up. They don't rehydrate over time. They do fade a bit over time. These are just, oh, I forgot to put those flowers away. This wreath has been hanging out here for quite a while. Someone ordered it and then never picked it up. But it's got some freeze-dried zinnias there, some sunflowers. And just to compare, this little shriveled up thing here is an air-dried sunflower, where these are freeze-dried. This one is really pretty. Anyway, our freeze-dryer room is also my dried flower studio, so that's all in here together. But food is our primary reason for the freeze dryers and all of that. So let me show you some of the differences between the two. All right, I'm gonna try to back up enough to actually see this. We haven't even gotten everything, all the boxes and stuff taken away yet. We just built this table and I just showed you what it looked like before. So we all know like the measurements of the extra large versus the large and other smaller freeze dryers, but looking at it in person, it's so much, such a bigger difference. It's dramatic. We'll go with that. Move my paper towels out of the way. Anyway, back to this. You can see our table here had to be this deep just to accommodate the extra large freeze dryer, where we have all this space in the front for the large and a space in the back. It is that much bigger front to back. The width measurement is not quite as dramatically bigger as the front to back, but it is still much larger. This countertop is, I forget how many inches it is, but it's not a standard kitchen counter height. It's more like a 30-inch counter. And you can see how close this is to the ceiling. It's quite dramatic. So we will open up the large and then take a look at the trays. So while I don't have it totally set up yet, I'm going to show you our system with the new table. We used to keep our pumps right next to the freeze dryers up there. Now our pump is back here, and there's another one for the other freeze dryers back there. We are going to install a fan down there to help with airflow, and our buckets are here and there to drain the freeze dryers. We do have a hole in the table because this hose that came with the extra large is much less flexible than the hose that came with the large. Even though they're the same length, it's a much bigger hose. Here, this is the large hose, or the large freeze dryer's hose, and this is the extra large. It's way bigger, and like I said, way less flexible. The only downside that we're really seeing to this setup is that it is going to be a little bit tricky to change the oil on this pump, on both of the pumps really, but we wanted to be able to move it out to the edge to change the oil, but we're going to have to unhook it every time to make that work. But the pumps will be out of the way, and we'll have a fan for airflow, and we'll be able to keep some of our extra supplies, like these new tray lids. These, I will get out one of these and show it to you. There you go. This is an extra large freeze dryer tray with a lid, which would make this much easier. It's very sturdy to stack the trays in the freezer. We got 2 sets of these lids. We were going to get 2 sets of trays, but they were out of stock. But as it says on the box there, you can use these as trays. Now I wouldn't really want to like carry heavy food across the everywhere, I don't know, across the room or something on this, but we could put the food on it and put it right in the freeze dryer, or put something lighter, like this would hold plenty of herbs and stuff. And I'm not sure how it would work out if something sticks or anything like that. It seems like it would be harder to wash than the stainless steel trays, but it is really nice to have a lid and an extra tray. All right, so here is something else we got for our extra large that we also have with the large. These are silicone mats for the extra large. There are 7 trays in the extra large, only 5 trays in the large. I did get out my large tray so I can show you those really quick. These you can use parchment paper or something else as a mat, as a liner for your tray. These are worth it, 100%. We have 2 sets to go with our 2 sets of trays for the large, and we really, we use them all the time. And they are so much easier to clean, and they make it a lot easier to get anything kind of sticky, or even not sticky, but anyway, I don't even know. I can't think of examples right now, but it keeps the trays cleaner, and makes your turnaround time faster. You could just take the mat off, wash it. It rinses off easier than cleaning sticky, messy trays. So here is the large and extra large trays. I'm going to take my lid off and put the, there, large versus extra large. It's it makes the large trays look like little baby trays. They are the same height pretty much. There's maybe a hair difference there. It's probably just my table. This one is really scratched. It's fun. Anyway, it looks even more dramatic in person because it is a wider and longer tray. The downsides to these large trays is that we will have to load all of our food onto the trays out here. We're going to have to put in a table over there to make room to be able to process food. Bring out process, chopped up. We could chop it up in the kitchen still, but we'll have to put it on the trays out here. With these trays, we were able to load them up and use some little tray stacking corners that we got on Etsy, and stack the trays and bring them out and then load them in the freeze dryer. We just can't do that with this. Just carrying these trays alone weighs as much as these trays weighed with heavy food on them, like tomatoes or squash or something with a lot of liquid. So these will have a lot more, we'll have to do a lot more of the prep out here. But if your freeze dryer is in your house and you have room for this massive thing, it would be less of an inconvenience loading the giant trays. I can barely even get this in here with one hand, but it is just, it's amazing how far back it goes. And I also imagine, based on what I know about cleaning the smaller, large size freeze dryer, that this is going to be a bit harder to clean. This part comes off and we go back in there. This will all come out. Anyway, the inside part of this freeze dryer, when I have something I tried to freeze dry hot sauce once and it exploded all over everything. And we had another time where we tried to freeze dry banana puree, and that exploded all over everything, and it just runs off and it's just so messy. And when you have candy or anything like that, or the bananas or stuff like that, it gets up on the underside here. You really have to take all this out and really clean it all out. This section here just barely fits in our oversized sink in our house to rinse it out. This, there's no way I'll be hosing it outside with a hose. There's no way it would fit in the sink. And this space here above the tray is smaller in the extra large than the large. Let's see if I put this tray in here, you can probably see, I probably should just have brought something to measure, but you can see how that is that big and this side is smaller. Probably too close again. All right, well, that is pretty much it. Difference between the large and the extra large freeze dryer is this one is a whole lot bigger. If you are serious about freeze drying lots of food, because filling this up is going to be an undertaking. And I know based on what we grow in our garden and that we will be able to fill it. If you can't fill it all in a day's worth of produce or a few days worth that you've kept in the refrigerator, you can always pre-freeze a few trays and then add to it until you build up a whole load. And as you know, probably, you can mix foods in freeze dryers and the flavors don't mix. So that part is helpful too. So we can do a load with a few trays of green beans, a few trays of okra, and a few trays of squash, and keep up with everything all at once through that really intense part of the summer. We're also looking to get into freeze drying candy to put in our store, which I know is like totally old news. Everybody does that. But we have a farm store, so we might as well freeze dry more things to put in our farm store. And I'm also working on freeze drying some pet food for our own use. We have lots of dogs in the family and cats and rabbits and all these other things. And everybody could use more fresh food in their diet, even if it's not really fresh. That makes sense. You know, preserved fresh food, better food than things that are dehydrated and store-bought and all of that. We also sell our freeze-dried zinnias and sunflowers with our wreaths and bouquets. I will put a picture of one of our freeze-dried flower bouquets here. It's really popular also with bakeries, cake decorations. You can use freeze-dried flowers for those as long as they are edible varieties. Zinnias don't taste very good, but they are edible. And there are lots of other flowers that could be freeze-dried to look better and go on these cakes. All of these things can help you to pay for something like a giant freeze dryer. Obviously, I'm running out of things to talk about, but freeze dryers. So I would encourage you to look at our other videos on freeze drying. And if you're interested in how we grow enough food to fill these freeze dryers, you should watch my garden videos. I go through the whole season with garden updates, and it shows the scale, the type of plants, and the type of care involved in growing organic produce to feed our family for the whole year. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.